over a century, the economic story of Africa was written by outsiders. Extract raw materials, ship them out, and buy back the finished product at 10 times the price. But as the US-Iran standoff freezes global trade and the old supply chain snap, Africa is making a move that is much more powerful than a military strike. It is called the Sovereignty Act. The continent is finally moving from resource wealth to value addition. In 2026, the goal is not just to have the materials, it is also to own the factories that use them. Today, on IXV International, we are looking at how the current global chaos is the exact catalyst Africa needed to achieve true economic independence, and where the smart money is positioned to benefit from this industrial revolution. The question is, why is this happening now? This is happening because the cost of shipping raw goods across a war-torn world has become prohibitive. Refining at the source. Countries like Nigeria, Ghana are no longer content exporting raw crude or cocoa. Now what they are doing is we are seeing a massive surge in local refining capacity. When you refine on the continent, you are not just saving on shipping, you are also capturing the processing margins that used to go to Europe or Asia. The battery boom. With the world's largest reserves of cobalt and lithium, Africa is the heart of the EV revolution. The Sovereignty Act means Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia are now negotiating for battery gigafactories to be built locally as conditions for mining rights. The use of subsidies. The US government, wanting to reduce its own independence on Middle Eastern or Chinese supply chains, is now providing strategic capital to African factories. They want a stable, sovereign supply of finished industrial components coming directly across the Atlantic. If you want to understand how sovereignty works in practice, look at Ethiopia Airlines. In a region often hit by instability, they didn't just build an airline, they built a 7 billion integrated aviation ecosystem. The service anchor. They provide maintenance, repair, and overall services for the entire continent. They are not just flying planes, they also own the technical expertise that others have to pay for. The Hormuz alternative. While the Middle Eastern hubs like Dubai are facing airspace restrictions and high insurance costs due to the Iran standoff, Addis Ababa has become the primary safe gateway to the south. Let's look at the lessons. Sovereignty comes from owning the infrastructure of the service. If you own the hub, you control the trade. This is the blueprint being replicated in the tech hubs of Kenya and the maritime ports of Morocco. The secret weapon of sovereignty play is the AFC Act. What it does is it ignoring the global noise. When the US and Iran are in a standoff, it hurts global trade. But it doesn't stop a company in Egypt from selling to a customer in South Africa. The AF is creating an internal demand engine that is insulated from global choke points. Standardization. We are finally seeing the single rulebook for African businesses. This allows a startup in Lagos to scale to 54 countries without 54 different legal teams. This is where the opportunity comes in. Investing in Pan-African brands. The next giants won't be US companies moving into Africa. They will be African companies that started local and scaled across continents using this new free trade framework. Finally, let's talk about food sovereignty. The war has sent grain and fertilizer prices through the roof. The blue economy, something that we are hearing now constantly. Coastal African nations are investing heavily in sustainable aquaculture and blue foods. They are moving away from imported wheat and towards local high-protein maritime resources. Hyper-local manufacturing. The money in 2026 is in micro factories, small, high-tech units that produce what is needed where it is needed. From 3D printing spare parts to local medicine production, hyperlocal is the ultimate hedge against a broken global supply chain. The US-Iran conflict is a strategic reminder of how fragile the old world order was. But that fragility, Africa has found its strength. The sovereignty play is not just a political dream, it is an economic necessity that is being built, factories by factory, port by port. This concludes our series on the war, although I'll be touching on it as some details come up. But the standoff and the new opportunities are just immense. If you followed all the videos that I've posted on this topic, you now have the roadmap for where the world is going. And my name is Momokano, and I'm from IXV International. If you want my deep dive report on the top 10 African tech tickers for 2026, click the link in the description below, subscribe, stay resilient, and I will see you in the next series. Thank you.